one person being the center of intelligence and thoughts and ideas isn't going to last as long as a whole group of inspired, engaged people.
This is Facility Rockstars, the podcast that celebrates the unsung heroes of our daily lives, facility professionals. I'm your host, Jay Culbert. Join me as we honor these great leaders, sharing stories, insights, and expertise that empower us all to learn and grow together. Facility Rockstars is sponsored by Coludus, operating the way you operate in order to make your life easier. Welcome back to Facility Rockstars. I am your host, Jay Culbert. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Not only is he the first guest we've had from down under, Australia. He got up bright and early for us this morning just to be on the show. He also has been a friend of mine for going on 9 years now, and we were introduced by another mutual friend, Sean Shepard. So thanks to Sean for that. So without further ado, I'm super excited to get into this discussion with him. He's a powerhouse when it comes to building strong, high-performing teams. He's an innovator whose mission is to close the gap between management and the workforce. He is a passionate coach guiding leaders to unlock growth and turn teams into real assets. He's the founder and principal consultant of Lifeblood Performance. Mark Bloodworth, welcome to the show.
Wow. Thank you very much, Jay. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be on your show. And I've got to say right from the get-go, I feel like an interloper. I've seen some of the magical stars and people you've had on your program, and they are really, really solid citizens and doing great work. So as a non-facility manager, I feel like a bit of an imposter, mate. I've got to get it out in the open there for you.
Well, you're an unbelievable leader and innovator yourself, Mark. I mean, do not sell yourself short. What you've shown me over the years is the reason you're on the show. It's amazing, and I appreciate everything you do and everything you bring, man.
No, well, it's an honor, mate. I'm really looking forward to our conversation, digging deep into this topic and helping your audience with the great work they're doing.
And to that note, I'd like to mention like the bridge Mark and I talked about here. Like, hey, do you want to be on the show? Yeah. Hey, what do you think we'd talk about? Why, why would the listeners lean in? And really, like Mark is doing a lot of similar work that Facility Rockstars and groups like us do, and that's really celebrating the unsung heroes that are getting things done behind the scenes and building more community and connection and collaboration with those groups. So that's really why, Mark and I thought it'd be a good partnership to have a show about it, right, Mark?
Absolutely. That is my world. Yeah.
Nice. So, Mark, uh, with everything you've done, and we're going to go through some of the experience, a lot of the experiences you've had in your life here in your career. If you picked one, what would be your biggest lesson learned?
Biggest lesson learned, Jay. It's an excellent question, right off the cuff as well. People normally know the answers to their own questions.
Ooh, oh, we need to hear about this. What do we have going on here? What do you mean by that? I love it.
Well, often I've discovered particularly my early leadership stuff, that leaders made a great fist of having the knowledge, having the power, and just passing it on as needed on a needs know basis and keeping the workforce and the unsung heroes somewhat in the dark. All right. And so there was that learned helplessness, waiting for it to come on, and nothing was really activated. Whereas my experience is leaning into empowering people and engaging people and getting people on the journey with you. I've discovered most of the time, people would normally know the answers to their problems. Now, whether that's in a work life situation or a personal family life, community, whatever it might be, but the system around them has often been guilty, in my mind, of quashing their ability to bring those answers out. That's not our place. The bosses have got that under control.
Hmm.
Is that landing a bit, Jay?
It sure is. It's brilliant and doesn't come up a lot. I'd like to actually stay on this a bit more. I don't know if it's examples of this or not, but what you've seen, what you're teaching around it, and what you're learning, Mark.
Yeah. Well, I remember really early in my time at Kodak, and I was a manager, and it was a highly technical area. I am not a highly technical guy. I'm a people guy. And I have 24 hours operations. And I remember 2 o'clock one morning, a call coming through from the plant. Hey, boss, we've got this problem. Da, da, da. So I just marched through the process. Okay, have you retested? Yep. Have you checked this? Have you? Yep, done all that. Okay, what's the next step? And they told me what the next step is. Brilliant. That's it. Away you go. Oh, you're fantastic, boss. Thank you so much. It actually had nothing to do with me. I was just asking questions.
Hmm.
They knew the
Powerful.
answers, right? And they just needed to clarify because that's what the system had built. You've got to
Mhm.
go through, and I understand the needs for all that. You've got to have process and controls and safeguards and all that sort of stuff. But that was the early awakening for me. Going, man, they don't. I'm just a guide, right? I'm not the boss. I'm not the technical guy. I didn't have all the technical chemical understanding that they were dealing with. I just had the process and the ability to ask questions. So I guess that was my early understanding that most of the time people don't answer their own questions. And even if it's in another scenario where they're coming up with a challenge, sometimes it's just the fact that people need that support. They need someone to bounce the idea off. They've really got the idea rattling around their head, but maybe they just haven't got the boldness to say, "Yeah, that's the way I'm going to move forward." And it might be because of the system, it might be because of their lack of confidence or their, any of those sort of things contribute to it. But that's been quite powerful as a guide for me to ensure that unsung heroes, as we've been talking about, actually
Mhm.
can contribute more and can be in the game.
I think that's fantastic. And I think what like the confidence piece is what I thought of first, Mark. And you mentioned that right? Maybe it's just the confidence. Well, we don't know unless we ask, actually. So let me not make any assumptions there.
100%, 100%. And when people get brought in at the front line, often the expectation has been we've hired a pair of hands, not a head. Just get in there, do it. We'll do all the thinking. And I know it sounds archaic, but there are still organizations around that have that mentality
Hmm.
and have that
Well,
ethos. And
yeah.
that's just suppressing the front line. I actually reverse that and say, what are we doing to get access to the frontline intelligence? I've actually coined that phrase of frontline intelligence. It's not just a pair of hands working out there. These are people that know the process intimately and understand it. And if you've got the time to ask, we'll give you some ideas.
Frontline intelligence. I just wrote that one down. That's great. Oh, that's fantastic. And I want to baseline this again, Mark, because everything you're saying is so brilliant already and very helpful to such a broad array of people and disciplines. And again, that's why we wanted to do the show together, because you've built a program and you can speak about it. Tell less, ask more. And I thought it was amazing. So, and everyone listening can grab something from this. I guarantee that, right? So if you wanted to just, I mean, start us from the beginning about tell less, ask more. What's it all about, and why do you even do it?
Well, while we're doing reach outs, the reach out goes to Joel Bennett, another one of our. I'm not sure whether you know Joel,
I know
but through
Joel.
short, yeah, Joel's
Sure.
an absolute wonderful, wonderful person,
Mhm.
and he had me on a LinkedIn Live event, and we were talking about passionate leadership, bringing some passion into leadership and engaging your people and what have you. And he asked me at the end of that LinkedIn Live event, Mark, what's the one thing you want leaders to do tomorrow that's going to nudge performance up and improve their business and their teams? I said, Joel, I want leaders to tell less and ask more.
Mhm.
That was it. That was my answer. Thought fantastic, terrific. Then things started lighting up, and I got some inquiries. And long story short, a guy up in Sydney flew down, wanted to meet me, said, "I want you to build me a program around Tell Us Ask More." I've gone, great. Now, I've been doing leadership programs for quite a while, but they were more ad hoc and customized. And this was the first time I'd gone about trying to build something. And in my inevitable way, I'm trying to add more value. And I'm saying, we could do this, we could do that, and we can lean on that. And he goes, Mark, I just love Tell Less, Ask More. Stick to that. And so we stuck to that. So now I've got a foundation program. I've got 62 modules that have spun out of it that are all in the Tell Less, Ask More philosophy and principles. And it's probably that guidance that that first client gave me about just stick to those 4 words because now it's branded, people
Mhm.
remember it, and it's easy thing to continue to practice on a day-to-day basis.
You know what I love most about this? is that you got out of, I won't speak for you, but I'd have to get out of my comfort zone to do a LinkedIn Live. And you did it. And Joel created that opportunity. And because of that occurrence, you came up with this whole idea that's now a business and a whole program. It's awesome.
Correct, correct. Yeah, yeah. It's funny how the world, the serendipity of the world sort of moves. But yeah, I'm through with it now, Jay. And in fact, it's something that is bigger than me
Hmm.
now, and we might dig into that a little bit more with some examples down the track. But it's bigger than me. I'm learning from it.
Hmm.
So even though it sounds great that I'm the founder of it and all that sort of stuff, which is fantastic, Joel instigated the question.
Yeah,
All right.
sure.
See the power of that? Joel
Sure.
had that question to
Hmm.
me that made me think about what my real purpose was and what I wanted leaders to lean into, that what I would encourage their performance and connection with their teams. And on a practical level, we've I've learnt things from thinking deeper about tell less, ask more. And for example, when I now start my workshops, you do the normal introduction. It was lovely of you to do the introduction for me. It got me inspired. So thank you for that. But now when I do my introductions, I don't tell people anything. I ask them to, or invite them to ask me questions, depending on the size of the group. So, right, 10 questions, away you go. What would you like to know? And a bang, 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 bang. And the amazing thing is, I reckon maybe 5% of what I used to use in my intros gets brought up,
Oh, that's so
right?
telling. Like that
Only
bold
5%.
move.
Yeah, it is a bit scary because sometimes people are a bit thrown by it,
Mhm.
but they understand the methodology and the ethos behind it, and they go, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense," and away they go. And it's fantastic. And the things that people ask me, it gets really deep, really quick sometimes, and sometimes it's a cathartic moment for me. People are seeing the power in their own questions about what drives me, what
Yes.
motivates me, and I'm going, "Wow, these are awesome questions," and they generally always are. But the key thing is, it's questions that are helping that group move forward to decide whether they want to form a connection with me or not, whether they trust me or not, whether we can work together, whether we can work on some deep thinking together to create some positive outcomes in their world, right? It's up to them to get that feeling, not me to try and push it on them.
That's awesome. And how did you come up with like what made you what was the pivotal change there, or the moment or the tipping point, if you will, to say, you know what, I'm not going to do the introductions anymore. I'm going to start with them asking me questions. What made you do it? And forgive me
It
if
was
I
just
missed that.
Yeah, no. I really don't know the answer to that, Jay, is the question. I love being in the moment, and I'm planned and I've got materials and all that sort of stuff when I'm running, facilitating workshops. But I love being in the moment and just getting a sense. And one day it was a moment that I thought, you know what, I'm switching this up. I'm always, like most leaders, I'm always looking to continuously improve my processes and make the experience
Mhm.
more positive and better and richer for my people. So I'm going, okay, well, why would I keep banging on? I'm preaching tell less, ask more. I'm banging on about all these things that make me feel good about myself that I don't know
Mhm.
whether they even land with people. Why would I do that anymore? It was just that moment of, oh, I'm not really being a good practitioner of tell less, ask more myself if I just keep blurting stuff out. So it was kind of that awakening moment in a workshop.
That's like that's amazing. What self situational and environmental awareness is what I'm hearing from you, because you're like, wow, you just said it, right? Don't, it's not about me. How to make this better, and you weren't preaching what you were teaching. You weren't practicing what you were teaching. Good
Correct.
on you, man. You
Yeah.
made me think too, like how much this must accelerate programs, and like get you, like you said it, you get really deep really fast, right?
Yeah,
Some
100%.
of,
And it's got a really simple overarching goal. So people, the work I do is always centered in creating new productive habits that people practice in a block of time.
Mhm.
Okay. So if they do nothing else except remember the program title, they're practicing something pretty powerful. And then the more that they
Mhm.
practice, the more they'll go, oh, okay, they'll see some of the nuances and some of the things that happen when instead of telling people something, you actually invite them into the game.
It's brilliant. Now, if we stopped the show right here, I would say that nugget right there alone of what you just shared was the value for the whole show. Do you feel as though we're making assumptions if we do what you used to do versus asking them to input first or ask questions first.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% we're making assumptions.
Hmm.
And and I think we're leaving our participants, our teams, in that flat state where they're just cruising along, waiting for the inspiration or waiting for the guidance from the powers to be.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. And
Yep.
so, the one of the things I love about Tell Us Ask More is, what happens when you ask a question? Right. That's a question to you. Okay. So what happens when I ask you a question? What happens in your head?
And instantly start thinking, what are the possibilities? What might be the
There
answer?
you go.
Yeah.
The, See, right? And
Yeah.
we miss out on that when we're telling people stuff.
Hmm.
So the reverse of that is if I'm just there telling people that they're going into autopilot. How do I survive this? How do I
Yeah.
take this onslaught?
Misery.
And yeah, and they're just doing enough to get by,
Mhm.
right?
Wow.
Just doing enough to get by.
Yeah.
Whereas you ask a question, bang, they're in the game. They're thinking. Even if it's a hypothetical question. I'm going to
Mm,
ask you a hypothetical question now. Bang, away we go. You'll see people's eyes go up there. Good, they're thinking, right?
right.
In fact, part of the work I do is I talk to leaders, and whenever they're starting their toolbox meetings or their workshops or their innovative thinking sessions or whatever it might be, I'd say if you haven't got your group talking within the first 30 seconds, and I've sharpened that up to 13 to have a memorable number, if you've lost them, they've gone off and
Mm,
they're switched off potentially and gone, okay, here we go again. They know it all. They're just going to trace through and then set up a scene maybe later on. But by then, it's too late. The thinking stopped. It's like, how do I survive this next hour?
great awareness and great pivot. Did you say 13 seconds?
Yeah, yeah. I just
I
use that
love
as
it.
a thing. It used to be 30 seconds, but I was like, no,
Yeah.
get them involved right at the get-go. You know,
Yeah.
even if it's how's everyone doing? And if anyone's worked in a group with me, they know I won't let them get away with, oh yeah, good, good, I'm fine. Well, no, that's not enough. Come on, that's just, so I'm
That's
I'm
playing
getting
it
them in there.
safe.
It's plain it's safe. It's actually code for things aren't good. So give me something deeper, and they start laughing and get into it, and oh, boom, okay, let's get cracking. It can be as simple as that. You don't have to go in with a mind-boggling deep question to start with, but
Sure.
just get people up and about thinking, going, oh, okay, this is different. Maybe I'll be engaged here. Maybe my opinion and my thoughts and my ideas matter.
Hmm. Wow. Awesome. Now, are there any themes you're picking up on? Any common question, types of questions, right? That they initially ask you, like right away. What are people curious about?
The often so that's a really good question, Jay. One of the things that people they're interested in my motivation. Where did that come from?
Hmm.
Why did I do this work? What sort of experience have I had doing it? Often that what do I do outside of this? And that's the question that really that there's a theme of those coming through, and that's the bit that can help me because outside of this, there's not a lot. I've got a beautiful family, and I do all these other things, but I love coaching. I love helping people be their best, and that sometimes can be a little bit super inclusive. And so when I get those questions, it actually gets me thinking, go, right, I need to improve there. I hear about all these people with great hobbies and different things. I could do better. So it's actually a two-way thing where their questions are actually helping me continue to grow as well.
Absolutely love that you constantly say you're getting something out of it and in your own growth as you're helping them grow and become more aware, right? That's a great combination right there. Now, you just talked about improvement. We've talked a lot about that already, but let's shift to continuous improvement. And I know you and I talked weeks ago, probably on this, and how we often, as a business or a society, focus on process improvement. But you switched to gear a little bit, and I'll let you take it from there. How would you talk about that?
Yeah, well, coming from a business like Kodak, I was really grateful and for the opportunity to learn about processes and standards and systems. And Kodak back when I was on board with the first recipients of the Australia Quality Award, so I understand systems, so I understand ISO, and I love the value they bring to organisations if they're utilised correctly. But in all the times that I've been working, often the people improvement is a bit spasmodic. It's a bit project based. It's okay, yeah. Well, there's a new fantastic. thing. Let's do that. Let's do that program. Whereas as I'm evolving the Tell Us Ask More world, I'm realizing that to do it justice, I need to let go. And that's one of the biggest growth things that I've had to tackle is the ability to let go and let other people take the reins to embed this thinking, this philosophy broader in businesses. So I'm now right into leader led, which is not a new concept, but leader led for Tell Less Ask More's work for me is. And so now graduates of the initial foundation programs are now out in the world leading change with their people. Okay. And the
Mm,
and the ones I've got furthest advanced absolutely get the fact that we need to have continuous improvement for our people. It's not set and forget. Let's do one program, bang, we're all fired up. It'd be like a sporting team analogy, getting people pre-season
mhm,
fit, healthy. Here's the game plan. Here's how we're going to play. Here's the positional aspects of it. Here's the tactical thing. Here's the fitness component. Here's the mental thing. Here's your nutrition. Here's your backup. Right? You're all set. Terrific. Okay. Good luck for the season. I'll
mhm,
see you at the end and see how we went.
mm,
It's
mhm,
comical. It's
mm.
comical.
That is
You
such a
know,
powerful example right there.
yeah,
Yes.
like who in the world would do that? I'm not barracking for that team. Yeah, they've got no coaching, they've got no support, they've not got no challenge. They're right. So we can't just get fit and then stay fit.
Hmm.
And so the continuous
Well
improvement
said.
aspect is with all the leaders that are now working with their teams, using the material that they're familiar with, using the processes, and using continuous change, as in habit builders, developing new habits. They're growing just like I'm growing, and they're growing their people. So it's
Hmm.
and when you've got a plan, and I'm working with groups now, we're starting to plan what 2026 looks like, and we're building in topics that they're interested in, they know is going to help drive their business forward. So we're building on, and then we've got a loop going because they come back in here, then go and do this one, do this one. It's a continuous learning pattern that they're in control of.
That's fantastic. And I love how you bridged continuous improvement and how we typically apply it in society versus applying it to our people and everyone around and to ourselves, right? Everyone and continuously improving people. Such a powerful. Now, you had a couple of examples that I believe we talked about, a couple galvanizing plants, if I remember correctly, because I'd like to kind of land the concept for everyone listening and for myself, of course, included, like of what you're talking about and how's it playing out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I'll just focus on one at the moment, but a galvanizing plant in rural New South Wales, and they've done the program. Now, galvanizing plants are tough places. They're heavy materials, and there's a lot of processes and all the rest of it. Not a lot of people development often goes on there, and we've been fortunate enough to work with a really inspirational manager and a group of companies that really get the value of investing in their people. It's a tough world. It's a tough working environment. Let's do the best we can to help our people develop and be a part of the scene. So after the foundation program with the leaders, very interesting things happen. There was two or three people that really shone and really connected with the whole idea of building productive new habits and keeping it simple. So each module of workshop and discussion was peer led, so peer conversation,
Mhm.
facilitator led, and ended with a new habit practice where there's a platform that helps nudge them, support them, encourage them to make change. Now, most of the people got really into it. They really, really enjoyed it. And amazingly, a couple of people have risen through the that work and have put their hand up to be the leader-led people, right? And it would not necessarily be the ones that I thought of initially, the ones that are in natural power positions at the moment. One of them was, one of them wasn't. One of them was a person who'd come in from an admin support level, and she's marvelous. Like she would just give me every time I get up on site, materials were all ready, the room was spotless, connections were made, everything was right. Mark, would you like a cup of coffee? That would be lovely. Thank you very much. Like, nothing was too much. But then she started getting into the program. Now she's leading it.
Hey, rock stars. If you're tuning into the podcast and are feeling overwhelmed by all the maintenance demands at your facility, don't stress. We've got you covered. Our sponsor, Coludis, is your go to partner to help you tackle all those demands and get them done right, on time, and with top notch quality. From project planning to execution, Coludis is there to make hard work easy. Visit coludis.com today to get started. That is a hell of a success story right there.
100% of this, and it's all about her. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
put the thing there, and she was the one. And I remember the times when I reckon I saw the change occurring, and these guys were these people weren't often used to being off the line and talking about these deeper issues of how to motivate people, how to get people engaged, and all that sort of stuff. And Pam would say, it was a room of silence. She go, and she thinks, she go, here's what I think Mark is getting at. Bang. And away she'd go. Oh, that's exactly what Mark was getting at. Right. And
She
she
was
built her
bold enough and
confidence.
brave enough to say it, right?
100%. That's why I
Yeah.
say it's all about her. She put herself in the room and she put herself out there to be bold and brave enough to share what she felt, and that resonated with people. So she's actually made herself a leader in that world. And she's one of the coordinators. We've got a meeting tomorrow with the GM and the ops manager and Pam.
Mm-hmm.
She's now elevated herself. She's got a say in the way, because the great thing is she's connected. She knows what people really think, not what they're saying they think. And so what we're going to do is build the next iteration of the planning will be really relevant and specific to help that business with their leadership challenges.
Sure. Mark, I know you wouldn't say it for yourself because you're too humble to do so, but I'll definitely highlight what the obvious here is. The program you're doing with them, it played out, I would say, marvelous because you said there was someone you might expect to really rise up and someone that maybe you wouldn't suspect. And there you go. There's the success break right through that wall. That's very impressive, Mark. Yeah, that's well done.
Yeah, thank you, Jay, and
Of
thank you.
course.
And I feel that if I was encouraging leaders now, often my experience has been recently there are there are unsung heroes out there that we don't know about yet. Like
Hmm.
we all know the people that turn up every day. Could be harsh conditions, it could be long hours, it could be, there's a lot of people out there doing some amazing work. But then there's ones that we don't even notice,
Hmm.
and then like bang, up they pop, and they become just brilliant. So yeah, thank you for saying those things, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually want to jump back to the you used the words frontline intelligence
Yep,
a little bit ago, and we went through a scenario. I think back to Kodak again, and you were going back some years here, but you were talking about how you traveled around the world, if I
yep,
if I get this
yep,
correctly, and
yeah,
then
yep.
it wasn't just you doing it, but I'll let you tell the story because I don't remember it, but I think it ties together to frontline intelligence here.
Yeah, look, it does, and I think the thinking back at the time, pre-internet days, and this is how far we're going back, to transfer technology, and we'd go to the mother plant, which is in upstate New York, Rochester, and the sites that'll get around. We'd learn from each other and try and have those identicality process, so that we could be producing product around the world that was identical. Okay. Only problem was, like I take all that information back. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a technical guy. My ability to transfer that on, I feel was impacted. It was
Hmm.
great experience. And we did talk about other things, but that was one of the key drivers of those particular processes or those conferences. And so we came to the realization that we should be getting people that are closer to the action interacting together. And so when we spun that around, okay, I missed out on a few trips, but it was a much better outcome for the business and for the people, because they went over there, might spend sometimes 3 weeks integrating with the people and forming connections and understanding how they went about it, the resources needed, what the why and wherefores behind it all, and would come back changed people. And they were leading that change on the front line, and I was in the support role. I was clearing blocks and making sure everything kept
Hmm.
moving, which I would say is a good way of doing things. The front line have the intelligence, and they have their hands on the wheel of the process. That's where the value is added. I often
Yeah.
think about and used to use the inverted triangle.
Hmm.
So the
Hmm.
hierarchy is normally that side. It's really the other way around. The
Hmm.
value added is the front line. That's where the intelligence is. That's where the connection with the process is. And the rest of the leadership needs to be supporting that, honoring that, recognizing that, and getting out of the way.
Well, that's yeah, absolutely. That's leadership's job. Just support it. Just support, and like you said, like you've said many times now, get out of the way. Get the hell out of the way.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
them do it.
yeah,
Let them
yeah,
lead it.
yeah. And that goes for me as well. I'm not,
Yeah.
like that previous conversation about leader led. That was about me getting out of the way.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
held off on that because I thought, oh, geez, I don't know how this is going to go without me being there and me doing it. And I go, wait, it's not about me anymore.
Hmm.
It is about having faith in the process that's been working and allow other people to put their interpretation on it and get it working
Sure.
for them.
Sure. No, awesome. Great stuff, Mark. Very well. Like you truly walk your talk, and that is that's such high integrity. Um, I want to ask you about your biggest challenge, right? So these are great success stories, and maybe the challenge is also a success story. But what would you consider recently or long ago, biggest challenge, and what did you face? How'd you deal with it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you two. I just thought of a new one. Is two
All right,
okay?
of
One from a
course,
long while
no
ago,
rules.
one from now. So what the one, and it kind of pulls together some of the stuff we've been talking about at Kodak. One of the biggest challenges we had was getting people engaged, highly unionized, and we were losing business, and it was a tough time. And we had some equipment that operated in the dark. It was cutting paper. I went in and saw it in the daylight, and I said, God, how old is this equipment? It looks ancient. And they said, it's 8 years old. I said, this is disgraceful. This does not look good. Right. And here we are trying to win work, and we've got no pride in our equipment and what have you. So I spoke to a couple of the team leaders and the foremen and that around, and we said, you know what? Let's start sprucing this up. Let's make some changes. Let's see if we can actually make a difference. Now, we came up against all these problems. We were losing work. People were starting to get a little bit sensitive about their jobs. Right, let's make a difference. This is a big challenge. Let's do it together. And they said, well, it would help if we could just start cleaning our machine up, get this, and we could paint it, we could do all this, and that would be a good start. Then we can do some planning changes, and then we'll be a bit more efficient. And so all these ideas were coming from the frontline intelligence. Right.
Hmm.
But the blocks we had from the entrenched, unionized, heavy unionized, decompartmentalized sort of demarcations, the word I'm looking for. You can't do that, or couldn't do that. You couldn't do painting because that's their, like, oh man, like this is killing me. Like we just want to make a difference. The guys can see a path forward, and we're constantly getting blocked for it. So I ran interference. I just went and spoke to all these people. We're not trying to put anyone out of a job. No one's going to get paid for it. So in the end, we came up with all these compromises that the guys could do everything they wanted to do to upgrade their facility, their operational equipment, as long as they didn't get paid. Right. So how are you going to go selling that? Yeah, yeah, you can do all of this, guys. But now you can't get paid. I go, oh, okay. They went, yeah, that's fine. We don't want to get paid. We just want to make a difference. We want to improve it. Okay, good. Let's go. So we planned it to within an inch of its life. It was had to be done on a Saturday, all this sort of stuff. In the end, the guys had so much control. They beat me on site. I'd slept in, which is one of the rare things. I was a younger bloke then. They probably had more going on outside than I did these days. And they're ringing me. The people go, come on, boss, let's get in here. We're well on the way. It's going great. Come and got to come and see this. So I get in there, and I was on the barbecue duty. We had t-shirts printed up. We made a festive occasion of it, and we had allowed, like 8 hours. They had it done in 5. We were having the barbecue, some soft drinks, t-shirts, presentations, talking about it. Made some changes in planning to support this. There was more pride instantly in the area. The productivity went up. Long story short, we ended up winning back some business, which led to an ongoing contract. All from that. But there was so many blocks. You can't do this, you can't do that. But that frontline intelligence came through and led the way. So
Unbelievable, Mark. Unbelievable. Like every facet of what you just shared. That's wow. What a great story there of leadership, right? And you, again, it sounds like you did exactly what you're teaching today.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have ever recognized it back then, Jay. I just felt like that was the way to go. I've always
Yeah.
had natural respect. I used to work on factory floors when I was a kid on vacations. And so I
Sure.
got to feel what it's like working in a factory. I used to build TVs, I used to build speakers, I used to sweep floors. I do everything I could at this factory so I always had that respect for the people and the intelligence of the people around me and was amazed, when I was sitting down there looking at all these other people, how little interaction, how little opportunity they had to share their ideas. So probably a lot of where I am now drives back to those early experiences, Joe.
This ties every bit of it ties back to unsung heroes, Mark. Every single shred of what you're talking about, and creating them as the front line. It's I love this. Did you have another example you wanted to share?
Yeah, look, there is another example. There's an organisation that I'm working with. It's an iconic engineering firm in Australia, and they have been in business successfully for many years, but their leadership style probably hasn't updated. And I remember, getting guidance that I'd steer clear of that organisation. It's pretty tough world there, and it might not, your system may not work in there. Anyway, without banging on too much about it, we went in there and we've effected some change, but it comes with a caveat. There's ongoing business challenges, and so we went in a small part of the area, made a difference, but now the challenge is still there, where there is a significant challenge connecting the management and the lead and the frontline people to
Mm,
move forward, because such a complex business. So there's so many different systems, and there's all these things that aren't meshing well at the moment in a tough environment. So it's an ongoing challenge. We've had one early set of wins when we got some really seasoned leaders actually talking differently just through tell less ask more, and recognizing the success was that they recognized it wasn't about them anymore. It was about building the people up around them and under them and sharing their knowledge, sharing their experience, so they become more like mentors than bosses. Right. Now that was amazing, and people said no, that couldn't happen in such a tough environment, but it has. Right. Now there's many steps to go. In fact, I was up there yesterday, and we're working, and the leadership team is so committed to make this connection better, that
mm.
they engaged me to have sessions with every employee in the business. We did multiple workshops to understand from their perspective what was driving some of the engagement survey results that weren't so good, that we could improve on. They wanted to have a deeper understanding. So I spent the morning up there yesterday unpacking what I learnt. And
Mhm.
now they said, "What, we need help. Let's get into it. Let's keep this going. Let's build a plan to how we are going to strengthen the engagement and connection with our frontline people, so that we can be all working together on the same page." So it's a good story, but it's an ongoing story. But it shows if you're committed to making that connection, good things will happen.
I think the ongoing part is the most promising piece of it, though. It's like you see a piece of change. Let's go further down the road here. Motivational, inspirational, Mark. This is fantastic. Um, well done. I can't stop saying that, right? So it's like because these examples are the fruits of what's happening here, and that's exactly why we wanted to have the show together, right? Like,
Beauty.
what are some of
Great.
these examples? Well, what could people actually put in place, or for that matter, they could hire you, remote. There you go. So, Mark, if you had a piece of advice for anyone listening, anyone in our community, what would that be?
It's a great question, Jay. And so for the facility professionals listening, my guidance would be, and I've got to be consistent with what we've been talking about with tell less, ask more, is use that as an overarching goal, okay, and be mindful of it on a day-to-day basis. Where could I switch the game up by telling less and asking more? And run a bit of a human leadership experience experiment with yourself to see what happens. Right. So in a scenario where you're going in and you're going to do a briefing, instead of just going in and blurting, you could actually start asking some questions. Okay, so here's what we want to talk about. Here's the goal. What are your thoughts before I share my thinking? What are your thoughts? Let others speak first
Mhm.
and see what that is. And then be brave enough and bold enough to dig a bit deeper, to probe. The in process 5S, five Ys.
Mm.
Just keep digging down. Well, tell me that's awesome. So tell me more about what that would look like on our operational platform. What would the outcomes be? What would we have to be aware of? Start digging deeper, get people thinking harder and harder. So this can be practiced anywhere, anytime. And I think if you're bold enough to let go of the need to tell, is the first thing.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
Just start practicing it and seeing what a difference it makes. It might not be flawless at the start. It might feel a bit clunky, and the people might feel, oh, geez, the boss is asking a lot more questions than he or she used to. All right. That's okay. Even declare that. Hey, I'm going to try this new approach. I want to get closer and get your ideas in the game a lot more. Right? I want to get you out of the stands into the game. Okay, if that is a challenge. And often, one of the biggest barriers I see in enacting something like this in a workplace is that people are very hectic schedules. People are very time poor, and it is
Mm.
often thought of, and it's probably reality, that it's quicker to get it done myself or to tell someone what to do. But so the added piece I'd put in there is start thinking about what is your legacy? What are you growing
Mm.
in your team? Are you growing that learned helplessness where people are reliant on getting instruction and thinking from above? Or do you want to move the needle a little bit and build towards a superior sustained performance where everybody's engaged? One person being the center of intelligence and thoughts and ideas isn't going to last as long as a whole group of inspired, engaged people.
Great advice. Very, very well said. Ties it all together, Mark. It really does. Oh, that was fantastic. Um, I'm laughing to myself as I ask this next question here, right? Because we just learned a ton from you. I've known you what going on 9 years, so I know you fairly well. Not great.
Yeah,
I haven't been to
yeah.
Australia. I haven't been down there with you yet. But um, what about Mark outside of Lifeblood Performance? What do you do, man? What makes you tick? And I know you kind of said this is what you do, but
Yeah,
what else? Any
yeah.
any other hobbies? Anything going on there?
Well, look, my son's now past the youth basketball time, but that was probably my biggest hobby. Not my son. He's not a hobby,
Right.
but being interacting with him, and guess what? Being a basketball coach at youth level, okay, which wasn't my preferred sport. I used to play Australian football more than anything, so it wasn't my nuanced sort of speciality. But again, kids that want to play sport and be involved in the club need volunteers to help do this. So I stood into that, and it turned out to be such a rich experience that it was really powerful. And so to a degree, I still do that. Some of my son's mates ring me, we'll go and have coffee, or they say, ask your dad, what would he do here? So a little bit of mentoring is still on the go. And I had a beautiful experience with with the coaching that was really really powerful, and I probably need to sort of stimulate that again now. Whereas I worked a lot with South Sudanese youth, that was our cohort in our basketball squad, and they had specific challenges that others didn't, and so I built a growth project, and we did some work together, skilling them up for life and doing
Hmm.
good things in community, getting some positive reinforcement, getting a bit of positive media. They were affected by a lot of negative issues going on down this part of the world, and that made a difference. And it made a difference to me. I learned so much from these young fellas and they were all boys from the basketball program, and we went out and built beautiful gardens. We did a washing car episode at the local bowling club and raised money for basketball from another basketball coach that I used to work with, who's now in Tanzania. So they did good things and felt their own power going up. So that was pretty cool. So I've
That's
probably
pretty
got to.
moving. Wow.
Yeah, I got to find more of that sort of stuff. But look, to tell you the truth, I need to get better at resetting. I'm rediscovering my joy of music, just the power of sitting in a quiet spot and reading a lovely book and just chilling out, and exercising and being with my family. They're
Sure.
the things that help offset all the other activity, Joe.
Sure. Well, and the beauty of it is though is, well, whether you're coaching in life or coaching in professional, like
Yeah.
coaching is in your blood and you love it. So it's not a
Yes.
bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a
Yeah,
bad thing. It gives me joy.
that was great. So I want to ask you about how to connect with you, Mark, and before we wrap the show. So how would people get in touch with you if they wanted to either work with you or just learn more about what you said on the show?
LinkedIn's probably the best, I think, Jay. If I
Okay.
think most of the people in your cohort are professionals and on LinkedIn, I look at LinkedIn as a great learning opportunity. I go on it to learn from other people and share some of the things that I'm working on. So I've got all my contact details on LinkedIn, so people can just reach out to me, connect, send me a message. Got my phone number there. I'd love to hook up with anyone, learn about what they're doing and how potentially we might stimulate some ideas and some thinking between ourselves. So yeah, I just go to the LinkedIn and ping me there, mate.
Sounds good. I mean, we have all different connections with each other, but we still use LinkedIn more than anything to talk to each other, right? You and I.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That works well. Yeah.
Mark, thank you so much for taking the time, for getting up early for us. Like, hey, it's almost dinner time where I am, right? And then you're going
Yeah.
to get your coffee at the cafe after this.
Yeah,
So
it's 7 a.m. as we speak, Jay. So
thank you so much, Mark. It's always a pleasure whenever we talk, and I hope and
yeah.
for everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. It's really it's inspirational to listen to what Mark's doing. I always find it inspirational, and I appreciate everyone tuning in. So great episode, Mark, and until next time, everyone have a great week. It's a wrap. Another episode of Facility Rockstars is in the books. Facility Rockstars is sponsored by Coludus, operating the way you operate in order to make your life easier. Until next time, facilitate and rock on.